We see now, with the war clouds hovering over us, how essential it is for us to have a navy of our own. With the aid of that navy, small though it is, we can give an enemy a warm reception. If it were not for our navy, a warship could come among and hunt our mercantile marine as a hawk hunts pigeons. I would like my hearers to remember that it was the Fisher government that has laid the foundation of an Australian navy. I do not want to make this a party issue. If England is dragged into the war, Australia is dragged in too. In this crisis, we hope all parties to sink political differences and to stand shoulder to shoulder for the good of Australia and the Empire.
The month of August in Australia is Wattle Month. Perhaps that may not mean very much to an Englishman or an American, but to an Australian it brings with it a rush of fragrance, a vision of tossing golden branches, a breath of home itself. And in August 1914, the wattle was particularly beautiful. All the wattles around Coombe seemed filled with beacons of light, ranging from the palest shades of yellow to the deepest hues of gold. And outside my dining room on the lawn, a great wattle tree, which had been there since the house was built, was the finest of them all. I have often wondered, looking back on the tragic sequence of events that followed the 4th of August 1914, whether the various nations of the world were affected psychologically by the season in which the catastrophe occurred. In England, of course, it was hot and thundery, as indeed in all countries which were to participate in the struggle. But over Australia hung the first hint of spring. And to me, there will always be a memory of spring associated with that dark epoch, a memory which seems somehow to soften in some slight degree the horror of it all. We, none of us in those early days, took the war seriously. There has been a lot of argument going on, they say, as to whether dear old England should have gone into the fray. But right-thinking people all wanted her to fight, and when there's shady business, Britannia puts it right. Rally round the banner of your country, take the field with colours on the foam. On land or sea, wherever you be, keep your eye on Germany. But England's home and beauty have no cause to fear. Should old acquaintance be forgot? No, 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 no. Australia will be there. Australia will be there. When old John Bull is threatened by foes on land or sea, his colonial sons are ready, and at his side
I wish to volunteer for the AIF to serve with the Australian Army Medical Corps.
I congratulate you on your valour. Now, just a few details to fill on your enlistment forms. Date, 16th of August, 1914. Name?
Ralph Edward Goode.
And place of residence, Mr. Goode?
Lilydale, about 21 miles east of Melbourne.
Lilydale. You're the first man to enlist from Lilydale. Any past service?
I've completed 3 years compulsory service with the Victorian Rangers.
Excellent. Just a few more details and we'll be done here. Height?
6 foot.
Weight?
I've done it, Kath. I've enlisted.
Ralph, I'm afraid.
No, I'll be fine. You know I'm not taking up arms. I could never kill anyone, Kath. I've been allotted to the Medical Corps, 2nd Field Ambulance.
I always knew that you could never be content remaining here in Lilydale, Ralph.
When I was with the Rangers at Brighton, I'd look across the bay and I knew there was an exciting world out there. I'll be back before Christmas. I'll be back before you know it, and we can celebrate.
When do you leave?
I report to Broadmeadows tomorrow morning.
I'm so proud of you, Ralph. I always knew this day would come. I have a parting gift for you.
A shaving mirror? That would truly be useful, Kath. A diary?
So you can write down all your adventures and you can share them with me upon your return.
I'll write something in every day, and I'll carry you here with me, Kath.
Bells at noon were by establishing our own opportunities for service.
Ladies! Come to order, please, ladies, for our September meeting. Good. I congratulate you all on your determined efforts to follow the lead of our Governor-General's wife, my very dear friend, Lady Helen Munro Ferguson. With her exceptional efforts, she has established Government House as the Red Cross State Headquarters, wherein the many articles we produce will be sent to be checked, packed, and then dispatched to Britain and the various front lines. Marvellous. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the sterling support given to us by local and national bodies, including our own Shire President, Mr. James Wallace, who has kindly given us his rooms for our meetings, and the Singer Sewing Machine Company, who has donated a machine for our use, and of course the Boy Scouts, who are collecting items from the women working at home. Marvellous. I now call upon our Secretary, Miss Taylor, to convey to us the achievements we have made together in only 3 short weeks.
Thank you, Madam President. Firstly, I too congratulate you all on the patriotic fervour in which you've tackled this necessary mission. The first of our achievements is the raising of £70 at the band concert at Rotunda. I call upon all our groups to declare the articles that we prepared to send to headquarters. I call upon Mrs. Lloyd Jenkins to commence the inventory.
160 shirts and 250 handkerchiefs. 7 sets of pyjamas and 33 collar belts.
33 pairs of cuffs and 50 washers.
80 tuck bags and 50 kit bags.
12 scarves and 5 balaclava helmets. 33 hospital bandages.
100 pairs of socks.
Splendid!
On that splendid note of success, and before we go on to any other business, I invite you all to partake in a cup of tea in the adjoining chambers.
Father, may I speak with you, please?
Certainly, James. Come, sit down.
Thank you, Father. The offer for a scholarship to attend Ormond College to further my studies in writing has occupied my thoughts this summer. My desire to study is great, but I'm torn, Father. The legacy of our family always being social leaders in its unselfish community service, I can't help but think that my duty is to king and empire, that I must join the fight to aid the empire and help defeat the Kaiser. However, at 19 years of age, I need your letter of consent to enlist. But I look for more than just your consent, Father. I look for your blessings too.
James, my boy, I am so proud of you. Proud of all you've achieved in your 19 years. And proud of what the future holds for you. My role here in Lilydale is to support the families in my congregation whose sons, fathers, brothers go to fight. If I could go, I would join you in the fight. Of course you have my blessing, my boy. You must do what you need to do. Fighting for the common good against this evil is as worthy a fight as there could be.
Thank you, Father. Then I'll enlist at the Shire Council building. If you could write that letter of consent for me tonight, I'd be most appreciative.
I'll write that letter, but don't you forget to write that poem you promised for the Scotch College magazine.
Of course, Father. I'll write it tonight. But did I remember to write that poem? No. I was so busy organising to enlist that I completely forgot all about it. It wasn't until my former teacher, George Wood, appeared at the Broadmeadows camp that I hurriedly wrote it for him. This poem sums up my feelings, why I enlisted, and why I believe Australia needs to be in the war. The bugles of England were blowing over the sea, calling for 1,000 years, calling now to me. They keep me from dreaming in the dawning of the day. The bugles of England, and how could I stay? The banners of England unfurled across the sea. Floating out upon the wind, they were beckoning to me. Storm-rent, battle-torn, smoke-stained and grey. Banners of England, and how could I stay? Oh, England, I heard the cry of those that died for thee, sounding like an organ, voice across the winter sea. They lived and died for England and gladly went their way. England, oh England, and how could I stay?
Sunday, the 17th of January 1915. Church parade morning. We played football against the 4th Lighthorse this afternoon. Lost by 2 points. But this was the first Australian game played in Egypt. Friday, 29th of January 1915. I've been to the pyramids in the Sphinx, which are only 1 mile out from camp. I can't describe them, they're too wonderful. They are a tremendous height, some hundreds of feet tall, and how they get the stones up there is beyond me. The stones weigh tons each. I've had 2 lots of leave granted to me at Alexandria, and let me tell you, the sights I've seen, I never knew existed in this world. Poverty. We don't know what it is in Australia. I think the natives are the most filthy people in this world. I've been through the native quarters. Their streets are only as wide as some of our lanes, and here you find the utmost filth of every description. Rotten fruit, vegetables, meat, stinking water on the ground. To say nothing of the mangy dogs and donkeys. And here, the natives buy all their own food. Meat hanging on the streets, bakers with cakes, something like dried pancakes lying on the floor and fish fried in some kind of oil. No wonder the place reeks with disease. The natives tested the life out of us, trying to sell us oranges, walking sticks, postcards, dates, etc. Often had to get assistance from the native police to clear them off. Easter Sunday, 4th of April, 1915. Marched out of camp at 11 p.m. After spending 4 months in a desert for an unknown destination. Friday, 16th of April, 1915. Dropped anchor off Lemnos. 3 p.m. Battleships, torpedo boats, cruisers, submarines, everywhere. French, Russian, and British. Sunday, the 25th of April, 1915. The fun begins. Landed under fire. Our boys routed out the Turks' trenches with the bayonet, but lost heavily. I've had all the excitement I want. Been hit twice by shrapnel, one scratched my cheek and one spent in my clothes, which I shall keep. The enemy shelled us unmercifully with shrapnel, and me not having guns to reply. But I reckon our warship shot them up a bit. A bullet went through a tin I was filling my water bottle up with. Our casualties are heavy, mostly arms and legs through shrapnel. But I reckon when we get our artillery going, we'll give them what they gave us. Hell. Thursday, 29th of April, 1915. Snipers are very bad. One beggar fired 10 shots at me today. Lobbed all around me, but none hit me. Monday, 3rd of May, 1915. I've been through hell and out again. Our boys took the hill, and I think still hold it. Some of the wounds are awful. I saw some of our boys getting up to the trenches, but the Turks had a machine gun trained to them. Not a man escaped. We worked 55 hours without a spell. Friday, 6th of August, 1915. At 3 p.m. this afternoon, our guns started a heavy bombardment on the Turks' trenches at line of line. And at 5:30 p.m, our boys jumped over the parapets and charged them with the bayonet. We captured 4 rows of trenches on our right, and other parts of the line were partially successful. Our casualties heavy. Friday, 17th September, 1915. The original 108 bearers who landed here on the 25th of April. Only 30 of us came off last Friday. We've had 15 killed, 55 wounded, and the remainder sick.
morning, Ruby.
Ah, Peter, good morning.
It's the first of the bad news on the paper.
Oh no, a telegram. The day has come when I must deliver one of these terrible telegrams to a poor family in my parish. I should be grateful that it's taken months for one of my flock to be affected. James?
We had visions for J.D. Burns of a brilliant future, a time when his pen would provide inspiration to a young country struggling into nationhood. But it was not to be, for he was called into the highest service. He gave his life for us, and the school will not forget. I now invite James's aunt, Mrs. H.S. Legg, to say a few words on behalf of the family.
To his school, it has the name of one who may be truly called a dedicated spirit. To his country, the inspiration of his high-souled patriotism and devotion to duty. To those that knew him best, many a sweet and precious memory that will never fade. He has fallen in an alien land, but his shrine is here.
Fellas of Australia, blokes and cobes and coots, shift your bloody carcasses, move your bloody boots, gird your bloody loins up, get your bloody gun, set the bloody enemy and watch the blighters run. Get a bloody move on, have some bloody sense. Learn the bloody art of self-defense. Have some bloody brains beneath your bloody lids and swing a bloody sabre for the missus and the kids. Chuck supporting bloody posts and striking bloody lights. Support a bloody family and strike for your bloody rights. Get a bloody move on, have some bloody sense. Learn the bloody art of self-defense. Joy is bloody fleet and life is bloody short. What's the use of wasting it all on bloody sport? Itch your bloody tiptray to a bloody star and let your bloody watchword be Australia bloody R. Get a bloody move on, have some bloody sense, learn the bloody art of self-defense. How's a bloody nation going to expand lest us bloody blokes and coves lends a bloody hand? Heave your bloody apathy down the bloody chasm and ump your bloody burden with enthusiasm. Get a bloody move on, have some bloody sense, learn the bloody art of self-defense. When your bloody nation calls, when your old mother England calls your native land, take a bloody rifle in your bloody hand. Keep your bloody upper lip as stiff can be, and speed a bloody bullet for posterity. Get a bloody move on, have some bloody sense, learn the bloody art of self-defense. When the bloody bugle blows at bloody Vance, don't be like a flock of sheep in a bloody trance. Biff the bloody Kaiser where it don't agree, spiff the bloody cane him to eternity. Get a bloody move on, have some bloody sense. Learn the bloody art of self-defense. Fellas of Australia, commers, chaps and mates, hear the bloody Germans kicking at the gates. Blow the bloody bugle, beat the bloody drum, but cutting out the cow to kingdom bloody come. Get a bloody move on, have some bloody sense. Learn the bloody art of self-defense.
All our minds are occupied by the greatest crisis in the history of our nation. And at such time, any young fellow who is fit enough to play football and has any spark of loyalty at all should be in khaki.
Property went away to his history of the day.
Wednesday, 26th of April, 1917. Tonight, our first experience with tear shells. What devil's things would the Germans use next? These tear shells are like an acid which cause intense pain and watering of the eyes, absolutely blinding a man for some 5 hours. Thursday, 27th of April, 1916. Following on the acid last night, at midday today, the Germans dropped 2 bombs in this village, which wrecked 2 houses and killed 2 little children. Wednesday, 24th of May, 1916. Rather an exciting time for me today. I was on duty at Barrier. At 3 p.m. they poured shells on us. The first came through the wall in the room I was in, smothered us in bricks and dust. 3 more lobbed on the roof, and in 10 seconds the place was ablaze. We got out without getting hurt. Thursday, 23rd September, 1916. When we arrived in this part about a month ago, there were 17 of us from Lilydale and 2nd Brigade. We march out today. Not 17, but only 2 of us. Myself, as far as I know, George Milne. All the rest are either killed, wounded, or missing. Such is war.
Yes. Vote yes. Vote yes. Yes. Vote yes. Vote yes. Yes. Vote yes. Vote yes. Vote yes. Vote yes.
The popular press calls them traitors for simply disagreeing with his vote. Hughes wants to put the people of Australia under the heel of military domination.
Every life is sacred. No mother should ever feel as I do.
Yes. Yes.
My heart is sick with endless tears, and grief is in my every breath. No, I will not support this blood vote.
We welcome Madam Nellie Melba to the podium.
Yes.
I appeal to the people of Lilydale, and especially to the women, to vote yes on Saturday next.
Yes.
I love Australia and am proud of being Australian. But perhaps there is one little spot in the world that I love more than anywhere else, and that is Lilydale. If Lilydale does not vote yes, I will have to go away ashamed. I was in Germany and heard two men say, yes, of course, Australia will one day be ours. I turned around and said, will it? Will it? I know Australia and its men better than that, and you will stay where you are.
Yes.
If we do lose the war, I know this. The first thing Germany will ask for will be Australia, and the second, New Zealand. We should do all we can to make this horrible war end!
Yes!
Yeah.
I now have the great pleasure in introducing the distinguished local historian, Mr. Anthony McAleer, OAM and Secretary of the Mount Evelyn RSL, and Mr. Don Parsons, President of the Lilydale RSL.
Thank you, Madam Melba. Someone should make you a dame.
The Lilydale RSL is very pleased to be able to present this website as part of the club's contribution to the Centenary of Armistice. What we wanted was to create a project that would highlight the service of this district's men and women during World War I, and what has been created with this website we feel is quite unique. I'll ask Anthony to explain it to you.
The website is called War Diary, and what it is, it's a day-by-day account chronicling what the men and women from the old Shire of Lilydale went through during the First World War. So this is the page of the open page of the website. As I said, it's a day-by-day account. So, Andy, if I could get you just to click on the 1914 tab. What it will be is a year-by-year account. So, on a particular date, what happened to different men and women. So, it's got the dates when they enlisted. It's got the dates when they left Australia. It's got the when they were wounded, when they were hospitalised, sadly if they were killed in action, it's got details on that, and when they returned home. The website itself and the information that it contains is absolutely fascinating. There is some amazing stories that have come through. It's going to be very interesting for those interested in what happened during that time, during the First World War. It's going to be of great value for those people wanting to research individuals from this area and their service, but also it's having the information displayed in this way and prepared in this way. And as Don said,
this is quite unique. There's such a large area has never had a study like this. But what it will do is be able to give us extra gems of information we haven't been able to get before. So, for example, we will be able to find out who was the first person from the Shire to enlist in the services. Who was the first one to enlist in the AIF? Of course, it was Ralph Goode, because we just saw it in the skit here. But who was the last to come back? Who's the first one to see active service? What month was did we get the most volunteers? What was the district's most fatal day when we lost the most amount of men in action? All this information is going to be here. So we are very, very proud to launch the website. Full compliments to the Lilydale RSL for being able to organise this and under their banner. We also would really like to give our appreciation to the Honourable Tony Smith, MP, the federal member for Casey, and Tony's in the audience today. Tony's been a great supporter of this project and getting it done. We were able to get a federal government grant to get it up and running. So we thank Tony, and we also thank Tony for all his support for all of the Centenary of World War I events that we've had sort of throughout the last 4 years. Very few sort of events that he hasn't been at. So thank you very much. If you get a chance when you get home, look up the Lilydale, spelt with 2 L's, War Diary, and enjoy. Thank you.
5th of April 1917. The Frits have only been out of this village 6 days. The damage and destruction left is cruel. Not a building left standing. Monday, 16th of April, 1917. Just beginning to get the hang of yesterday morning's affair. It was about the nearest I've ever been to getting captured. Fritz nearly on us, and we didn't know till today how close. Wednesday, the 18th of April, 1917. Living in these villages is not much trouble. Sort of gets on your nerves. One never knows the minute one might go up in the air. Everything you touch, you wonder if there could be a mine attached to it. When you're walking about, you wonder if you could step on some hidden mine and set it off. This afternoon, a mine went up in Yarra, a building that had been demolished. It's been over 14 days since the Frits left this village, yet the mine went off today. Killed 6, wounded 8. I'm beginning to wonder if there is something under my place of abode. Although it's a smashed house, there might be something under the floor. Let's hope not. Saturday, the 23rd of May, 1917. General Walker came and visited us today. He said he came especially to thank us for our splendid work, gallantry and bravery of this field ambulance in the 7 days at Boland Court. He said there's nothing finer in the war than the work of the stretcher bearers. Sunday, the 12th September 1917. All out again, short and sweet. But we've done great. Gave old Fritz another taste of Australia. Two more killed. 15 more wounded in our unit. Monday, 22nd of October, 1917. Big raid by Fritz tonight. Just as it was getting dark, about 7 p.m. I don't know how many bombs he dropped. He missed us, but the long ranges, 100 yards away.
3 long years at war.
3 long years without our boys.
Some of us will never see our boys again.
Listen, time passes. Let's hope that war's end is at hand.
1918, war's end, and our boys back home again.
Ladies, I hear Curlew has written a poem especially for today, to send out the old and bring in the new. Curlew, would you mind reading it for us?
It would be my honour.
Pass on, old year. I smile to see you go. Pass on forever with your weight of woe. Your dawn was ushered in mid wild alarms, the crash of battle and the clash of arms. Your flight was marked by reddened field and flood, your pathway stained with warring nations' blood. Each hour to which eternity you gave saw some fair vessel sunk beneath the wave. Each passing moment, passing by so fleet, sent forth a hero's soul, his God to meet. Where hopes were brightest, you have brought despair, and left in myriad homes a vacant chair. Through battle smoke your sullen sons went down, on levelled village and on ruined town, on furrowed hillside, swept by shot and shell, on blood-stained trenches where our heroes fell. Your pale, cold moons their silver radiance shed on France's vineyards, strewn with France's dead. You've seen fair Belgium, all her rights o'erthrown, engaged in war, a quarrel not her own. You've seen her brave sons contending for the right, crushed and downtrodden neath a despot's might. The children's lifted hands appeal in vain, her women ravaged and her infants slain. Hate, rapine, murder has your pages shown, no crime on record that you have not known. Pass on, sad year, to where lost years have gone. Your dying hours can bring regret to none. God grant the coming year the new more kind, may heal the breaking hearts you leave behind, and joy bells ringing the wide world o'er, bring peace and hope and happiness once more.
Hey, Ozzy. So, where are you from then? Sydney? Melbourne?
No, Cobber. No city for me. I'm from a little place in Victoria, on Mount Dandenong. Olinda. It's God's country, I tell you. I've been writing about it.
Well, go on. Read it to me then.
When Fritzy's hate was raining down and poison filled the air, I thought of a mount near Melbourne town and wished that I was there. When in this muddy trench I sit and whiz-bangs come along, I pray the Lord to wait a bit till I again see Mount Dandenong. The gap through which the coaches go over Olinda side, the lookout from whence you see below, far as the ocean tide. This war can make you give up hope, but one thought prolongs. Heaven to me is the sunset on the slope, north side, Mount Dandenong.
Yes and no. Aeneas was her husband's name. She would never have had her book published in her own name. We would never have had the chance to read We of the Never Never if she'd insisted on using her own name. Ginny, we've come to collect the parcels.
Hello.
Oh, you're so good, Jeannie. How many pairs of socks is that you're knitting?
Oh, I don't know. I can't do much for my boys, but I can knit.
Oh, right. And do you ever hear from your boys?
Your boys? I didn't think you had any children, Mrs. Gunn.
Oh, I call all the boys from Monbulk who enlist my boys. It's the least I can do. I really miss them, you know. So I knit them socks and I write letters and send them photos so they know what's going on up the mountain. I really do miss them. They need all the support we can give them. And when they get back, well, they'll need it even more then.
Are you there, Mrs. Gunn?
Oh, Richard, come in.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, you're not interrupting, Richard. Ladies, allow me to introduce you to the most recent of my boys, Richard Bowman.
Oh.
The ladies are just leaving. They've got what they came for.
Oh, Mrs. Gunn has been so good to me. She helped me get into the Light Horse Brigade. I don't know who you spoke to, Mrs. Gunn, but I'm no longer stuck at the guardhouse. I head off tomorrow. That's why I'm here, to have tea with Mrs. Gunn. She's done it for all us Monbulk lads.
Well, you've got what you came for, ladies. Off you go. Richard's got to have his tea before he gets back to the heads back to the barracks and sails in the morning. Off we go.
You know, I've known her for 15 years. I've never been invited to tea. Well, it's different when it comes to her boys, though. Different story altogether.
23rd of March, 1918. Fritz had deliberately shelled Ballou to pieces. Why? No one knows. It's 12 miles behind the line, and as far as military importance is concerned, it's practically nil. Today, we finished the town hall. Dozens upon dozens of civilian women and children have been killed and wounded. All the civilians have left town now. But it nearly made me cry to see all those poor people getting out with all their belongings in a handkerchief. Sunday, 14th of April, 1918. The sights I've seen these last few days would melt the heart of a statue. All the poor people getting out, leaving everything behind them except what they can carry. Tuesday, 23rd of April, 1918. Fritz shelled us this afternoon and got a direct hit. Killed my mate, Max Stewart. I had just walked away from him. Not got more than 20 yards off. When crash. And he was dead. Friday, 13th of September, 1918. Was warned at 6 p.m. to be ready to furlough, to proceed to Australia. Fritz have started shelling us again. I don't know where I am. I'm half ratty. What if I should get... What if I should get hit before I leave? And his bomber's out tonight and it's midnight and I feel that windy, I feel like fainting. p.m. These last few hours, the skies have been full of Fritz planes. Come his bombs. 2 of his planes have been brought down in flames. (15th September 1918). Not got away yet. Awaiting orders from headquarters. Fritz have started dropping shells within another couple of 100 yards of us. Order in. 11 a.m. I've got to collect 2 men from the front line. £12:30 p.m. At last, I'm out. March to reinforcement camp for Rotary.
They have no grave but the ocean floor, no flowers lay at their head. A rusting hulk is their tombstone, a fast the ocean bed. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Jim Brown. I'm a local poet. I'm secretary of the C.J. Dennis Society, and I'd like to present to you a poem which I've written. It's maybe on the program as the C.J. Dennis poem, but it's not really. I wrote it. But I belong to a society which tries to keep C.J. Dennis's style alive, and it's written the way he would have written it. And to make it easier for you to understand, Australia's changed. Our language has changed. But the veterans who came home from the First World War brought back some changes to our language which was influenced by the French. For example, bonza died out of our language now, but it's a corruption of the French word bonjour. And in this poem, you'll hear the words billy do, which is a corruption of billet de deux, which is a form of letter. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with C.J. Denison, there was a time when every Australian knew it. Bill was the sentimental bloke. He married Doreen, the love of his life, and some of you here will know the character. His best mate was Ginger Mick. Ginger Mick introduced Bill to Doreen and was speaker, best man at the wedding. And then he went to war, and while he was there he met a character called Trent. Now these are all characters drawn out of C.J. Denis's two famous works, the Sentimental Bloke and The Moods of Ginger Mick. So here's a poem written in the language, working class English of the day. And so I'll try and do justice to it. Some of you here will be old enough to recognise some of the words in it the way our ancestors used to speak. It's called Reflections on a Friend. The 11th of November, I watch the sun slip off to bed. And as he goes, there's fire in the sky. Hello? And now me mind starts rounding up the stray thoughts in me head as I sits and dreams of years that has flew by. The thought this war is over just keeps on running round me brain. Like others, I can get on with me life, but one dream's never far away, and it gives me so much pain, and a sadness stabs me out just like a knife. I dreams of Ginger Mick, the bloke I used to call me mate. Some predicted he'd lead me astray when I was a younger man, but I believe my fate was shaped by Mick. I thank him every day. Because he introduced me to my only love, Doreen, that pickle factory tart who snared me soul. And without me copper Mick, what would my life have been? I reckon it'd have been right up the pot. I thought that only Rose and me were ones who missed him sore, the day that Ginger copped it in the neck, till I read Trent's Billy Do. He sent me from the war, telling how our gallant Mick cashed in his cheque. Head over turkey, Mick fell when a sniper passed him one. Trent held him just as any true mate would, and heard his cobber's last words as Mick's last race was run. Then from Trent's arms, Mick left this world for good. Trent wrote that Mick had asked him please look after his girl Rose before his losing hand ended his game. And his final wish was not surprising, I suppose. Without Mick, Rose never was the same. Trent's first letter to me really shook the ground. He wrote, Mick talked about me quite a lot in the trenches, and would I mind if he could call around, if it didn't put me on the spot. That's how Trent is, you know, a bloke who's real polite. Of course I wrote, I'd like to see him too. That's how he arrived, and Struth, mate, what a sight. He looked a real flash toff, I'm telling you. His motor was a big Rolls Royce. His cobber was so grand. And as he greeted me, he showed his style. And I felt friendship when I gripped that well-dressed pommy's hand. And he won Doreen with his cultured smile. Aristocrat he was, all right. Mick wrote me some years back. They met when they was training for the war. And so this wandering pommy fought with Mick as an Anzac, as volunteers in the Army Corps. When the war was over, Trent went back to his own. It sounded like it was a huge estate that he inherited, but he said his thoughts would always roam to Australia, and of course to his best mate. Trent and Mick were both cast from such vastly different moulds, yet they was more than brothers in the war. Trent says Mick is in his thoughts as each new day unfolds. On Mick's memories, Trent couldn't slam the door. Trent said the war had changed him in ways few realise. A bloke like Trent surely would have once marked down as merely lower class, became a hero in his eyes. Trent's now traded England's green for Aussie brown. Trent and me are good mates now. Our friendship's pretty thick. How strange. A rough and ready red-haired lout whose moniker, not highfalutin, simply Ginger Mick, could show us both what life is all about. We must stop and think about the war's end each November. That great war victory came at such great cost. The 11th hour, the 11th day, we will all remember of the ones we loved, like Mick, forever lost. Mick will live on in stories I will pass on to my boy as we wander together by the creek. Young Bill knows that I miss him, but his eyes light up with joy. But I tell the many moods of Ginger Mick.
Australians from every state enlisted in World War I when it was declared in 1914. They fought in strangely named places such as Gallipoli, the Neck, Lone Pine, Garba Tepe. In Middle Eastern battles such as Beersheba. And then to fight with our European allies in towns such as Fromelles, Ypres, Pozières and Villers-Bretonneux. Many Australians sacrificed their lives, with over 60,000 never to return to their home shores. On November 11, 1918, after years of fighting, an armistice or ceasefire was called for in Europe. Across the seas and the other side of the world, life in Lilydale and the Yarra Valley continued, despite the many sacrifices of its citizens, both at home and at war. One of the Yarra Valley's most famous citizens was Dame Nellie Melba, the renowned opera singer. On the evening of November the 11th, she was dining in her Coombe Cottage home with friends when she received a significant phone call.
The candles were lit around my dinner table. The first glass of wine had been drunk. On this day, the 11th of November, 1918, when suddenly the telephone bell rang, and my butler came into the room and told me that the commandant of one of the destroyers in the harbour wished to speak to me.
At once, I went outside, and there in the darkened hall over a wire that seemed to buzz and whir, as though it had caught something on the throw of the message that was delivering, I was told that peace had come at last. I let the receiver drop and stood there for a moment motionless, and there, in a sort of joy, I screamed and ran back to tell the others. Suddenly, I remembered that all the little villages round about, all the little townships whose methods of communication were still crude, as they had been 50 years ago, would still be in ignorance. So I ordered my car as soon as it was ready. We whirled down to the village of Lilydale. I jumped out of the car, seized the rope of the old fire bell, and pulled, till the whole night rang with echoes. For a few minutes there was no response, and then one by one they started coming out. I cried out, and I can't remember whether I was laughing or sobbing. It's he,
out my mouth before the bells had rung to begin. And as soon as the little villagers of the Australian village with a strange shrill clamour of bells, like an unearthly chorus, was pealing to the skies.
Jubilation ensued with the local churches and the school bell ringing out in joy at the world's end. Local people reacted in a variety of ways.
I remember a truck passing by school, pointing and crying, "The war is ended!" We told the teacher, Miss Leader, and she said, "We'll raise the flag until told officially."
I was milking the cows when I heard the news. It was jubilation.
I was going with Mum in the morning through the little railways gate at Lilydale, and some chap was running across the road, waving his arms, and I was remember turning to Mum and saying, "What was this?" He was saying, "The war has ended! The war has ended!"
When peace was declared, a celebration of peace was held in Lilydale, and we were given a bag of lunch. I remember the generous and fun-loving Mr. Halley Sutton buying ice cream and lollies for us. It was a great thrill for us.
Some were so excited with the news that when they came to hear it, one woman turned up with just her quilt around her. The townspeople got involved singing patriotic songs and residents gathered to celebrate peace. The citizens of Lilydale and its surrounds rallied around the returning soldiers. In 1922, the Earl of Strathroy unveiled the Lilydale Memorial on Main Street. It takes the form of an obelisk of granite surmounted by the figure in white of an Australian soldier. On the west side, the monument contains the following inscription: "Erected by the residents of the Northwest Riding of the Shire of Lilydale in remembrance of the men who enlisted to take part in the Great War, 1914 to 1918. Created, like all of those in towns across Australia, to commemorate those who sacrificed their lives. Sunday, November 11, 2018, on the Centenary of the Armistice, lest we forget.
too. Hello, hello, stop your little games. Don't you think your ways you ought to mend? It isn't the girl I saw you with at Brighton. Who's your lady friend? It's a long way to Tipperary. It's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know. Goodbye, Piccadilly. Farewell, Leicester Square. It's a long, long way to Tipperary, but my heart's right there. It's a long way to Tipperary. It's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know. Goodbye, Piccadilly. Farewell, Leicester Square. It's a long, long way to Tipperary, but my heart's right there. Goodbye, Dolly, I must leave you, though it breaks my heart to go. Something tells me I am needed at the front to fight the foe. See, the boys in blue are marching, and I can no longer stay. Hark, I hear the bugle calling. Goodbye, Dolly Gray. Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile. While there's a Lucifer to light your fag, smile, boys, that's the style. What's the use of worrying? It never was worthwhile. So, pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile. Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile. While there's a Lucifer to light your fag, smile, boys, that's the style. What's the use of worrying? It never was worthwhile. So, pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile.
They were summoned from the hillside, they were called in from the glen, and the spouters found them ready at the stirring call for men. Let no tears add to their hardships as the soldiers pass along. And although your heart is breaking, make it sing this cheery song. Keep the home fires burning while your hearts are yearning. Though your lands are far away, they dream of home. There's a silver lining through the dark clouds shining. Turn the dark clouds inside out till the boys come.
of a nation in distress, and we gave our glorious laddies honor bade us do no less. For no gallant sons of freedom to a tyrant's yoke should bend, and a noble heart must answer to the sacred call of friend. Keep the home fires burning while your hearts are yearning, though your lands are far away, they dream of home. There's a silver lining through the dark clouds shining. Turn the dark clouds inside out till the boys come home. Mademoiselle from Armitage, hallelujah. Mademoiselle from Armitage, hallelujah. Mademoiselle from Armitage, she has been kissed for 40 years. Hinky, hinky, hallelujah. Out of kids in Armitage, hallelujah. Out of kids in Armitage, hallelujah. Out of kids in Armitage, the room the smell of 40 years. Hinky, hinky, hallelujah. The officers get the steak, hallelujah. The officers get the steak, hallelujah. The officers get the steak, but all we get is a bellyache. Hinky, hinky, hallelujah. Hickory, we heard guns roar, hallelujah. From Hickory, we heard guns roar, hallelujah. From Hickory, we heard guns roar, but all we heard was shouts of door. Hinky, hinky, hallelujah. You might forget the gas and shells, hallelujah. You might forget the gas and shells, hallelujah. You might forget the ghosts and yells, you'll never forget the mademoiselles. Hinky, hinky, hallelujah. Hinky, hinky, hallelujah.
herself from Armitage, hallelujah. Mademoiselle from Armitage, hallelujah. Mademoiselle from Armitage has been kissed for 40 years.
What did you think of the performance today?
Excellent. Very professional. Loved it.
Thank you.
Out of Indian Armitage, ring the spell of 40 years. Dinky, dinky, hallelujah.
Excellent. Shayla, so exciting and glorious. Thank you for Lilydale. Thank you for the whole community. Excellent. Keep it up. Well done. Today,
all we get is a valiant. Dinky, dinky, hallelujah. Hickory, we heard your talk, hallelujah. From Gapery we heard God's roar, hallelujah. From Gapery we heard God's roar, but all we heard was let your door in. Hallelujah.
Would you like a shoot?
Gas and shells, hallelujah.
It was absolutely great.
Wonderful, thank you.